Or you already got us live.
I hit the button.
No small talk. No, you just hit the button.
Yeah, well, it's sliding into home plate by the seat of our pants again, as usual. There was some issues with the YouTube video, and then, you know, we have to have a certain amount of time to go through it, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, but we are live.
The YouTube video. What are you talking about? Yeah,
Well, look, there were reports that the video feed got cut off or something happened at the city council meeting today. I don't know.
yeah, it did. It did. Look, I was watching it, and then all of a sudden, it inexplicably just cut off. Imagine that. I mean, it's almost as if somebody down there said, "Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Things are getting out of hand. We need to cut the feed."
Gee, I can't imagine who that might have been.
Can't imagine. So, hey Rex, tonight, I mean, there is a lot to cover, and there's no way we're going to do it all justice. But um, the topics for tonight are pretty interesting. I mean, folks have been seeing about it on the news, but you know, we broke news on a Sunday and had the highest viewership, of any show that we've had to date.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that was pretty cool. I mean, it was pretty amazing to have over 500 people watching live. Well, for those that are watching tonight, Rex, we're going to break news again tonight.
Oh, and that's even news to me. So this should be interesting.
So you're not going to see this on any of the major TV. You're not going to see it on any other social media. I mean, you're not going to see it anywhere else because nobody else really knows it. So the
Hey,
only way, if you're watching this show, you're going to get inside ball on politics in Bossier City, per se, that nobody else knows yet.
well, and I get to join in on the fun just like the regular viewers. And we're up to about 90 folks watching now. Hello to everybody. Glad to have you. But I get to join in on all the fun because if it's breaking news, I don't know about it yet. So I get to join in too.
See, that's what you get for being late to working on notes and but admittedly,
Yes.
you did were busting your butt on the restream thing here. And I don't
Yeah.
know, but
Well, I got us a few comments,
it,
ready on that end. So.
I'm just wondering, is Bossier City dragging out the video so that we won't be prepared to show on, the live feed tonight? I mean, are they dragging it out so we won't be prepared?
Conspiracy theory says that they very well maybe. Who knows? All right, let's go ahead and we're about 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes in. Let's go ahead and do our countdown for those of you that are new to watching the show. We appreciate everybody watching. But we're going to go ahead and do our countdown. That's about a 2.5 minute deal, and it allows people to receive the notifications through Facebook or YouTube and all that. We encourage you to tag a friend, text a friend, do whatever, and help share out the show, and that'll allow other people to see it. And well, we'll be back in about 2.5 or 3 minutes. What do you say, Mr. Lowry?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. brought to you by David B. Womack for all your contracting and construction needs. The Outdoor News, fishing and outdoors for our area. Acadiana Mortgage, over 23 years in the mortgage business. Pelican Training and Consulting. Reach out to Michael Ferris. Smarter Geek, making technology easier. And the many supporters, donations, and folks sharing information and watching out for Bossier. Now, grab your popcorn and a drink. Here we go.
Bossier, and that's it.
Okay.
Done.
That's it. We're done.
Hey, how refreshing is that? I look up here and I see somebody says, you guys are the best.
Hey, we've been
Are
called
they
a lot
talking?
worse.
Are they talking about us?
Well, we appreciate that comment. Katie Harmon St. John, we appreciate that. And look, you know, you don't always have to agree with us, but we do encourage you to listen and comment, you know, whether you agree or not. So we're all about a good discussion.
Absolutely. And see there, I said the old word, Rex. And hey, I think we've got some contenders for cockroach of the week. We haven't had a cockroach of the week in quite a while. And I think there are some folks who are contenders for cockroach of the week in both a good and bad way tonight, Rex.
Yeah, so maybe we need to go back in time for just a moment down memory lane and explain to everybody that may be new, and like you said, we haven't done it in a while, what the designation cockroach of the week entails.
Yeah, are we going to do that now or are we going to do it when we get to that point?
Well, we'll do it when we get to that point. How about that? We'll keep
Yeah,
everybody in
okay.
suspense.
Hey, and I see Jamie Marie Pope has finally come back from battling conservatives and leftists in Lafayette. I mean, I don't know
Yes.
who's on what team or who's on first down there, but she's obviously been in the trenches down there.
Yeah, and Julie McIernan. I probably just butchered that last name, but anyway, she has done the tennis ball emoji, so that's cool.
McEachern.
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 I'm
I think
sorry.
that's right.
I'm sorry. All
Yeah.
right. So, what's on tap for tonight? What do we want to lead off with?
Well, on the topics tonight, and hey, you know, to the 150 folks watching, we appreciate it. Hey, what do you guys think? I mean, so here's what we have on tap, and we've got, you know, kind of in the hopper, ready to go. Of course, we've got the breaking news, but you don't get to pick when we give you the breaking news. You just got to hang in for the show for when that one comes out. You're not going to get it in any other media anywhere else. But Rex,
Mm-hmm.
Bossier City Council, that's
Mm-hmm.
always the gift that keeps on giving. But
Yes, it is.
Chris Estess, the police chief thing, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that's in the hopper.
Yep.
So all the cops and all Bossier City and the Bossier City Police, you know, on whether you're on the Estes team or you're on uh, the other team that got
Yeah,
booted,
whichever it is, but yeah.
you know, I mean, now Estes is booted. So, well, that's not accurate. Everybody's been booted at this point.
Well, all right, but to be fair, according to our good mayor Tommy Chandler, Estes still has not been completely fired. He's just been removed as police chief. Correct?
Yeah. So, you know, look, I built a heck of a lot of notes on this subject because a lot of people are probably scratching their heads. What in the heck's going on? So here we go, guys. I mean, we're going to jump off in the Chris Estes, you know, dialogue, debacle, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it was the previous police chief debacle before then. So over the last few days, you know, we've gotten several messages, and I see you grimacing. That could be bad.
Yeah. No, it's not that bad. I
Okay.
just had a little typo in
Okay. So like I know you've seen them, Rex, as well, but you know, over
there.
the
Right.
last few days, we've gotten several messages and
Yep.
emails. You know, some people saying, you know, y'all called it. You know, like we're some sages or something, or that we have a crystal ball. No, we're not David Montgomery. We don't have a crystal ball. But and you'll see what I mean about that here in a little bit when you see the council meeting.
Hmm.
But um, yeah, we did call it, and what did we call, Rex? Do you remember what we said? I mean,
Hmm.
it's been 3 or 4 shows ago. What we said was going to happen to Chris Estes. What did we say?
Well, basically, it was, around let me think of the exact words, but it was around the time, of course, that the FBI raid took place, and pretty much somebody had to be the fall guy.
Somebody had to be the fall guy, and Chris Estes was going to be the guy who was thrown under the bus,
Mm-hmm.
the Sportran bus of Tommy Chandler. And guess what? He got
Hmm.
thrown under the dadgum bus.
Yeah, he did. And I don't have in the notes because I didn't have time to put it all together. But they gave the lame excuse that, oh, what was
Okay,
it?
whoa, whoa,
What am I
whoa,
jumping
whoa.
ahead?
You are. You should pull up the notes page because
Oh,
I've got a dadgum book wrote in there, and
oh, yes, you do.
you you're going to have to kind of follow along, I would
Okay,
say.
all
So,
right.
look,
Look. Get your saddle ready and carry me forward. Here
I'm
we
gonna I'm gonna
go.
I'm gonna carry you on. So, look, it's no surprise, it's no secret to everybody in Bossier now. And if it is a surprise to you, where have you been? Have you been living under a rock? And to there's some folks that feel like a show or two ago I made this comment, Rex, and I got criticized for it. I said Tommy Chandler was spineless. Now
Oh, that's
that
not nice.
that rubbed one of our viewers wrong, and I respect his opinion, I really do, and I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate it. He said, that personalized it, and you shouldn't have said that. They may be right, but I got to point out here, Tommy Chandler has done created, a lack of loyalty to a lot of people. There's a track record, and it's being built, and anybody who's been watching since he's become mayor, you've seen it firsthand. Look, everybody that's loyal to him, he throws them under the bus. Case in point, and y'all may think you know who I'm talking about. The citizens of Bossier, they've been thrown under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
What about Manchac?
Yeah. What about the audit? Hey,
What,
Tommy,
what?
where's the audit?
Where's the audit? What about term limits?
Yeah.
Remember all that during the campaign?
Wait,
Where is
did you say term limits? Crickets. I hear crickets.
um the what about the charter commission? Y'all
Yeah.
remember that during the campaign?
Yeah.
What happened to that? So
Yeah.
if you're still on the Tommy Chandler bandwagon, the Amigo bandwagon, I'm just wondering, the other Amigos that were part of that, they've all been thrown, what El Guapo or whatever, drinking the
El
water and didn't give
Guapo.
none of them and threw it away. Eh, Yeah, I mean Chandler, he's not loyal to anybody who's been loyal to him. The
And look.
citizens of Bossier, he said Manchac, he was going to get on Manchac, and what did he do? He threw in with Manchac. Term limits, nada. Mayor Chandler ain't nowhere for term limits. He was for it during the election when he was asking for your vote. He's not for it now. Audit of the city, he was for it. He's not nowhere to be found when it comes to an audit. City charter or charter commission, he was for it when he was running for office to be elected. Nowhere to be found now. And oh, let's not forget Shane Cheatham, the wonder boy of South Bossier. You know, he said on video down there at one of them South Bossier meetings,
Mm.
"This is my guy, and I'm going to stand by him." Well, how long did that last, Rex?
Hey, I'd like to point out that he also said that at that same meeting about Chris Estes. He was going to continue to fight for him and blah, blah, blah. And look, let's be truthful here. We got it wrong too.
Well, did we get it wrong, or did we want to see him succeed?
Well, we did want to see him
Everybody,
succeed, yes, but our initial observations of Tommy and his campaign promises, we got it, unfortunately, wrong.
he ran on a platform that he wanted, accountability in Bossier City. He wanted to change things in Bossier City. He wanted to sharpen things up. That's what he ran on, and he's done none of them.
Yeah.
He's zero, none of them. And now he's thrown Chris Estes under the bus. Now, like you started saying earlier, you had this city council or the civil service board meeting where he pointed out supposedly all the shortcomings of Chris Estes, and I've got those down in the notes, and we're going to go through those one by one, and that's bullcrap. It
Yeah.
is bullcrap. Love Chris Estes or hate Chris Estes, it's bullcrap, and here's some of the reason why, and we're going to cover each one of those. Um, in that civil service board hearing, they cited that, oh, Chris Estes, he was away from work a lot. He was
Right.
gone, wasn't at work a lot.
Right.
Well, last I checked, excessive time off. Maybe that was what they said. Excessive time off. Last I checked, the department heads, the mayor has to approve the time off.
Imagine
I
that.
mean, yeah. And, Rex, I'm wondering, including us and other media outlets
Hmm.
and all of the councilmen and mayor's office, Tommy Chandler, how many emails since Tommy was sworn in, how many emails have we gotten about problems with and dissension within the police
Oh,
department?
it's like nonstop, and we've talked about this before. There's one side, and then there's the other, and it's like an internal war going on.
So I'm just wondering, how can they, with a straight face, meaning Tommy and his city attorney's office, how can they, with a straight face, show up at a civil service board meeting and say that they are not being informed about morale issues and things within the police department? How is that possible when every single week there's an email complaint about things in the police department nonstop, and you're going to claim you don't freaking know what's going on? That's hypocrisy on a level that's unheard of. Joe Biden couldn't accomplish the hypocrisy that is
Ooh,
such in
that's
Bossier City right now.
that's a little harsh, but you're absolutely correct about that.
So I mean, Tommy the Chandler, Tahoe Tommy, the Joe Biden of Bossier, the only amigo, whatever you want to call him. I mean, it's bullcrap. Estes, and I stand by it. Love Estes or hate Estes, Estes didn't get a fair shot. And in
No,
all of the shows that we covered prior to this, Estes wasn't calling the shots. He was not. He didn't
no,
get the opportunity to call the shots. And I want to point out, who was it the night that all the guys that got moved on the police department, of all of you that got moved, who was it that was there to guide it at City Hall?
hmm,
What city
hmm,
attorney was there?
hmm. Let's see.
We
It had
we
to. I
co-
mean, we got a 50-50 shot at it,
we covered it in a previous show. It
right?
was Richard Ray. Sources
Right.
told us that the night all those moves was made in the middle of the night, Richard Ray was there with Estes or was directing Estes. We don't know which, but he
Hmm.
was there and he was present making all of those moves. Okay, so did Estes? It was B.J. Sanford, Richard Ray, and Estes. That was the three that were there supposedly the night when all the moves were made. Okay, now y'all hold that thought. Now, let me give you another example. How normal is it for the city attorney to be directing patrol officers in whether they're writing citations or not writing citations out on the street? Case in point, Red Rover. Did we not
Yeah.
prove that?
Yeah. I mean, it's
Did
right there in black and white.
did you see Chris Estes's name intervening anywhere in there? Was it not the city attorney doing it
Yeah.
himself?
Absolutely for a fact.
But all of a sudden, Estes isn't communicating what's going on within the police department to the mayor's office, and that's one of the cited reasons to remove him.
Hmm.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm just wondering. So it looks like we're going to have this breaking news a little earlier because I mean I'm kind of getting to it right here.
I am
We're moving.
so intrigued by what this breaking news is.
Yeah. So in addition to the excessive time off, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that everybody watching this show, this time off thing, you're going to see more of that in the future. But we'll leave that for the future. Um, Basically, they also, in addition to those things that we cited earlier as a reason to remove Estes, they also laid the blame of BJ Sanford and the drugs and all that. They tried to lay that at the feet of Estes.
Yeah, they did.
Now, he may have some culpability in that. He may. I'm not saying he doesn't. I don't 100% know, but I mean, I don't know. I think pretty much everyone in city government was directed by somebody, and I don't think it was Estes, to go to BJ Sanford. And I'm just wondering who in City Hall was directing folks to talk to BJ Sanford about things going on within the police department. Oh, I
Hmm.
know. Well, maybe it may have something to do with a request for an answer to some information that we received this week. We sent a request to City Hall.
Hmm.
And
Imagine that.
let's see here. I'm not sure what cut. Cut six. Um,
Let's see here if we can do that. Cut six, BJ. Yes. All right. Let's switch screens here for a second. I think I can go to that. Let's get rid. Nope.
so
Wrong
Rex,
one. Mm-hmm.
as everybody knows, on a Sunday we broke the news that the FBI was raiding Bossier City Hall and BJ Sanford's home address.
Right.
Well, subsequently, other news media put out there that the FBI had to move because they had learned that BJ Sanford was in the process of possibly destroying evidence, or he was. One of the news media outlets or somebody put that out, is
Right.
what I understood. And that was the rationale for them having to move faster than what they were. Well, here's the news flash, folks. We learned this week that where do you think BJ was arrested at? Do you think it was at his house?
Oh, that would be the likely place unless he was tipped off or whatever may have happened. But just where, oh, where, Duke, did they find him?
Well, the rumor mill, or what was conveyed to us, or sources say, whatever the words I need to use here are, I'm using them. Was that and we heard that he was
Mhm.
tipped off, that they were on to him. And what we were told was is that one of the attorneys in the city attorney's office was noted to be in the parking lot of City Hall as the raid was taking place in City Hall, I guess circling like a vulture. And before things are said and done, that BJ Sanford was arrested in one of the city attorney's offices in Bossier.
Really? Hmm. What a coincidence.
Now, maybe somebody watching this show knows something about it, maybe not. But as you can see, September 15th, when we learned of this information that in fact he was arrested in, well, I say in fact, I don't know that it's a fact, but when we learned it, that he was potentially arrested in one of the city attorney's offices, I mean,
Hmm.
they were looking for him and they found him. He was in one of the city attorney's offices.
Yeah.
So we shot an email off to the mayor, to the city attorney, and the assistant city attorney. And basically, we were kind of being nice, asking, you know, is this accurate? Is this inaccurate? Do you have a comment? You know, can you confirm or deny something? Well,
Hmm.
we've got no response.
Call me
Not,
shocked.
not a whisper, not not a word, nothing whatsoever, Rex. I mean, so when somebody doesn't say nothing at all, I mean, what do I mean, we're talking about lawyers here. What do lawyers tell you when you get arrested?
Well, yeah, to basically shut up.
Don't say a word.
Yeah.
Well, that's what these guys are doing. They're not saying a word.
Tight lip. Now,
So,
now, I have to admit, I thought you were going to break the news that we had gotten a response from, well, to borrow one of your terms, these jack wagons. But I see, again, call me shocked, uh, that they haven't responded. Imagine that.
well, I mean, to everyone else, this is breaking news. How many folks watching this show knew or know that BJ Sanford was actually arrested in one of the city attorney's offices? And I doubt anybody knows. I'm pretty confident that nobody, probably one of the city attorneys. But let's speculate this thing. How is it that he winds up in one of the city attorney's offices? It could be, probably more than likely, it could be that he called one of them and said, "Hey, I'm about to be arrested. I need to talk." But but
Well,
but
but
last I checked, the city attorneys represent the city. Do
yeah,
they
and
do they
and that would
arrest
beg, well, but
a drug dealer?
that would beg the question: how did he know?
How did he know? And well, I mean, if this guy is all the responsibility of Estes, why did he not talk to Estes? I mean, why is it
That's
that he's
true.
going to one of these city attorneys? I mean, is there something else going on here?
Well, knowing these clowns, and well, I could think of a few more expletives, but I'll try to keep it family friendly for the sake of David Womack tonight. Um, there's no telling what this cluster of idiots is up to. I have a new term for them: a cluster of idiots. I would rather say a cluster some other expletive, but I can't really say that on the show. Well, I could, but it would be appropriate. So let's just call them a cluster of idiots.
Well, well, Rex, how long was BJ at one of these city attorneys' offices? I mean, if the FBI got tipped off that evidence was being destroyed, was it being done digitally? You see there in our email to them, we asked additionally, is City of Bossier documents and resources being stored at private offices outside of the city property? If the FBI knew that evidence was being destroyed, was it being done externally? Was it being done in a city attorney's office? Is that what I'm to understand from this? I'm speculating here, and we tried to get a little bit of an answer and glean a little bit of information, but I mean, I don't know. You guys watching the show, y'all think about this a little bit. I mean, the FBI moves because things are happening. They see things are happening. They go to the city, they go to his home, and oh, they end up finding him at one of the city attorney's offices. Interesting.
Imagine that. All right. Somebody put a comment up. Let me go back to see if I can find it. Here we go. Margie Ann Johnson said, "Why didn't Estes show up to the city council meeting or to the council meeting?" Now, again, this is only speculation, but I imagine at this point his lawyers have advised him to keep a tight lip on everything pending their appeal or however that works to the Civil Service Board.
Well, well, Rex, that is a great question by Margie Ann Johnson, and it wasn't the council meeting; it was a civil service board meeting. At the end of the day, when you're appointed to be the police chief or the fire chief, especially if you're not certified in civil service law, I mean, the mayor can move and remove as he wants. I mean, you have no rights to the position. It's not until you're certified that you have rights to the position. Like Shane McWilliams, Shane had rights. He was certified in the position. He had been in there forever. Estes hadn't had enough time in there, so he held no rights. Chandler could have easily just said, "You know what? I don't like the way he combs his hair today. I'm changing it. And
Yeah.
that
Well, and we've
that is,
talked about that extensively before, and you've given a similar speech on, I forget what show it was off the top of my head, but basically saying the same thing.
yeah, and here's the thing. And it goes back to us saying that Chandler was going to throw Estes under the bus. And he didn't have to do all that. They made this personal. They went to that council meeting and literally talked about him going to some concert or doing something. I mean, they personalized this and they didn't even have to do it.
Yeah.
Why would they do that? It's ignorant because the mayor can move him if he wanted to. And I mean, maybe they felt like they had to give some reason, and maybe we're doing the job of Jacobs here saying, "Oh, he needed somebody to advise him on civil service law because he doesn't know civil service law." Bull crap. You just do it.
You just do it. Somehow this sounds like a Nike commercial, but anyway.
But mark my words, Tommy Chandler and the city are going to pay for what just took place with Estes. There's going to be a cost. And I'm not saying that Tommy was wrong. If he wanted to make a change and change horses, I'm not saying that he couldn't do that. He
Right.
could do that. But the way he went about doing it, the same way that he did with McWilliams, it was handled wrong then, the same it was handled wrong here. And what does that say to me? It says to me that it's a failure in management. And I got to tell you, any officer in Bossier City that is considering or would consider taking the police chief's job under Tommy Chandler, are you freaking crazy? I mean, do
Yeah.
you really believe you can count on this mayor to have your back? I mean, if you you better have your time in and you better be willing to walk and be able to retire and leave tomorrow because if you're counting on the word of Tommy Chandler and you're counting on him to have your back, I got to tell you, brother, it ain't there. And you might as well go on and just acknowledge that Charles Jacobs and the city attorney's office is basically going to make all your decisions. And if it goes wrong, you're going to be the one blamed for it.
Absolutely. Hey, mysterious Mark Smith has shown up, and he has an interesting point. He says, doesn't the council have to ratify all personnel decisions according to the charter? Hmm.
I don't think that's the case when it comes to the Civil Service Board. I mean, he's not certified in the position as the police chief, and he can be removed. But once he's certified, he's there, and they got to back it up. Now, on another note, that brings us to the next police chief. So, Mark Smith, would you like to comment on who is going to be the next police chief?
Well, somewhere I saw some comments. Somebody had pointed out, or maybe it was you in some of the notes, that now there are like three assistant chiefs or whatever, and what are they going to do? Flip a coin every day to figure out who's on first base, who's on second, and who's on third?
Yeah, so the maddening thing about this right now is you've got management by, you know, deputy chiefs. You've got three deputy chiefs, and I don't know how they have it arranged, but basically nobody is in charge, but you got three guys in charge. And I would say that I can tell you how it would go if it was on the fire department. You had three people with equal rank, and you had a decision that had to be made. Uh, it'll come to seniority. Whoever's got seniority, that would be who would make the ultimate decision. But I don't think that's where we're heading. And the reason I say that is because I understand that King David has already made a decision on who the police chief's going to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've already heard it.
Well,
Already been told who he's already picked.
and who might that be? Would it be one of the three or four, well, three names that we've been heard or that we have heard slung around?
It is one of the three names. What I will tell you is that King David's already picked Donald Worley.
Interesting.
Now, I will tell you that there's been a curveball recently thrown, and that curveball is that there's this young guy, and he supposedly, now you remember when we were talking about Red Rover and we were talking about the Masons and all that? There's supposedly this young guy that's a member of the Masons. He's like in his 30s, I understand, and nobody knows him, but because he's in the Masons, he's a top contender. He scored second on the police chief test, and that supposedly he's a top contender to be the next police chief.
Hmm.
Now, that's got to be the dumbest thing that I've ever heard, because no way this guy's got his time in. He can't retire, so he's stuck. I mean, if the occasion came up that he needed to go against administration, eh, I mean, he couldn't do it. Not in
Hmm.
Bossier City.
Well, so it's up in the air, and we don't really, other than information that King David has appointed who the police chief might be, it's still up in the air. In other words, we don't know for sure.
No, we don't know. You know, I would say that there are a lot of good folks down there. I mean, uh, I think uh, I think somebody just messaged me and said that the young guy that we're talking about has 20 years of service. Well, 20 years makes him vested. 25 years he can retire, but he can't draw a pension until he's, I think, age 50. If he retired at, well, wait a minute, he could retire at 20. He could draw at 50. If he gets to 25 years, he can draw a pension immediately. So in theory, he has his time in, but he would have to wait almost 15 years. So no way, probably he can't just stop working. He got to go get a job somewhere else and go to work. But that's a long time. And let me ask you a question, Rex.
Hmm.
And you know the two to 250 people watching. What do y'all think the likelihood of Tommy Chandler's reelection is at this point? So
Hey,
if this guy with 20 years was to take the job in anticipation of Tommy and hitching his giddy up with Tommy Chandler, no, that's
mm,
that's ridiculous. No way I'd do that.
well, no, I wouldn't either. You know, part of me wants to say that Tommy is a one-termer, and I think a lot of our viewers would agree with that. But stranger things have happened, and who's going to run against him? I mean, who is the next mayor?
Yeah, who is the next mayor? I think the tennis Nazis, they probably have somebody in mind. I mean, they had their number one cheerleader up front today, but that's another subject entirely. Have we beat the police department in the Estes under the bus throwing situation? Have we beat that to death, or y'all want some more of that?
Well, I think that we beat it to death only from the standpoint that, other than what we've shared tonight, we don't have any new information yet. And so this is going to be an ongoing saga for at least the next several weeks.
Well, that is breaking news. I mean, I don't know. It wasn't very exciting. It doesn't seem like nobody got excited about the fact that BJ was arrested at one of the city attorney's offices. I mean, am I the only person that finds that amazing? Mark
Well,
Smith, does that not get your dander up? Or did you already know that? You probably already know that.
probably did. All right. So, next on the list, shall we talk about the tennis mob? And we know that there are a lot of you folks out there watching the show right now. We covered, let's see, the Chris Estes stuff, breaking news. We got maybe a few other topics. Or do we want to cover Benton Bullies? That's honestly not going to take that long, but I want to go down that rabbit hole again. So, which one would y'all rather see? Would y'all rather see Tennis Mob, more about Chris Estes, I guess we could talk about, or what? Let's see. Let me see if I can put some check marks and change some things around here. Let's see. Let's check off the breaking news and the Chris Estes. Okay. I'm going to try to stay on top of the graphics. All right. Let me go down this path of The um, let's see. Why did I not have that? I thought I'd shared that or saved those files in there. Hmm.
Well, I had somebody confirm that it was Richard Ray's office.
Hmm. 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 Richard
Didn't know
Ray.
for sure, but they said that he was arrested in Richard Ray's office. So, was evidence being destroyed in Richard Ray's office?
I mean,
Was Richard
this was a
was Richard
Sunday. Why the hell was
did
he in Richard Ray's office?
I mean, maybe Richard Ray was hard at it for the city of Bossier on a Sunday. I mean, we
Uh,
didn't have any public information requests in. I mean, maybe Settle did. I don't know. But
Maybe he was working double time and overtime.
so what I'm wondering is, was it Richard Ray that was circling the parking lot in City Hall when the FBI was, you know, invading? I mean, somebody took offense to us saying raid. Was it Richard Ray that was, you know, circling the parking lot as they were invading? Is that a more appropriate word for you guys in City Hall? They were invading the confines of City Hall. Was Richard Ray circling the parking lot? Called BJ and said, "Hey, you might not want to go to City Hall. The FBI's there. Why don't you come up to my office and let's talk about it real quick?" Well, I don't know. I'm just wondering. Y'all tell me. I mean, Richard Ray. Look, Richard Ray was not a Chandler guy. Richard Ray
No, he was
was
not.
was he was on the other team.
Yeah, he was definitely not. So, like Miss Ann said, the plot does thicken. Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, now I'm really confused because a source just told me no, he was with Estes at the PD while they served the warrant. So,
We're getting conflicting stories.
yeah, I don't know. Man, I'm
All
I
right.
see if Ray and Jacobs would have just been forthcoming, responded to our email and told us exactly what happened. That's all
Yeah,
they'd have to do.
we wouldn't have to do all this speculation.
Okay. So, I broke the news
Hmm.
that he was arrested at Richard Ray's office, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so to the regular media out there, we're going to break some more news, Rex.
Uh oh, here we go.
I mean, so when we say that Estes was being thrown under the bus, there's a whole lot more going on. What would everybody think if we told you that there were other federal investigations ongoing within the confines of Bossier City,
What?
and that
I'm shocked again.
Estes did the right thing, but yet Estes is the one being thrown under the bus?
I am shocked again. I mean, surely there aren't any more controversies going on.
So the FBI has made more visits to the city of Bossier than just regarding BJ Sanford.
Mm.
Ah,
Hmm.
Mark Smith chimed in. He says, "Now you're getting warmer." Oh, we got Mark Smith excited. Oh yeah, Mark. Believe me, we know, and we've held off for a while. And look, our crystal ball isn't just perfect, but what we will say is there's more things going on within Bossier City than what everybody knows. And this wasn't the first visit by the FBI, and it's probably not going to be the last. And we'll see. Look, I'll tell you straight up, I don't trust the FBI and the Department of Justice. I trust them even less. The FBI works underneath them. Are there some good people at both places? Yeah, there absolutely are good people there. But how do you know which is which? And as it turns out in Bossier City, you know, there were some things that went on down there. It was discovered. Chris Estes, from what I understand, did the right thing, and he's paying the consequence today.
But
We'll leave it right there.
more on that subject later. Okay, so let me spend just a couple of minutes on this Benton Bullies thing, and we're not going to go in depth to it tonight because we still need to get through the tennis mob. So it just seems to me, Duke, you're in the Benton, Louisiana Town Happenings group on Facebook, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And it just seems like there is an incessant number of posts, and we have covered some of this on our shows before about bullying, and again, that term grates like nails on a chalkboard to me, but about bullying and specifically the Benton Middle School. So what I want to know from folks who live up in the Benton area, what is going on up there? I mean, there is enough of these posts now from different people to um, to raise a red flag. And apparently, this group is formed. Now, they were going to go to the most recent school board meeting, but they couldn't do that because football got in the way. So there's that. But apparently, they are planning to go to the October the 6th, I think it is, school board meeting in Mass. We'll see if they're on the agenda and discuss this topic with the school board. So, anybody have any insight into that? Let us know in the comments.
Boy, Rex. You and I are going to have to talk at the end of this show, and I'm going to have to share a little bit with you because I know a little bit more than what we're letting on here. um, there you go, right there. You got the link, Victoria Bow.
All right, let me see if.
That that sounds like an alias of somebody I know. They
Hmm.
probably
Hmm. Somebody that's
are.
undercover from Facebook.
Yeah, probably so. They just outed themselves, but they're probably in Facebook jail. And so, what I know and what I can tell you, and we'll promote it. You pull it up there, and we're going to promote it.
Well,
So,
I'm trying to pull it up. So.
I mean, look, the 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 bullying stuff. I mean, come on. I mean, all of y'all. What do y'all think? I mean, bullying. When we beat this to a pulp on a previous show when we were in school. I mean, look, if there was bullying, you got in a fist fight and you
Right.
settled it. It
Yeah. You
wasn't
either
a
got your ass
thing.
whooped or you whooped somebody's ass. It was
It
one way or
wasn't
the
a
other.
thing back then. And
Right.
I can remember Coach Harlan and people like that back in the days at Halton. I mean, you'd go out behind the E building or whatever and you take care of business. Well, I mean, and the principals, dude Hensley, I swear it's like he walked around Princeton with a two before in his back pocket, an 8 foot two before. And when I tell you, he would literally, I mean, it's almost like he would spank you with it and make you cut a flip in the air,
Right.
like, like a Ferris wheel.
Hmm.
But teachers, administration, they are so choked down and limited as to what they can do these days to control bullying and such. In fact, I think, I mean, we've dumbed everything down. The teachers have no control. They have no control in the classroom. Administration has no control. And I don't want to go all down this, but something has to be done. And there are some folks, and one of them is really close to home involved in this deal that are going to try to do something else. I don't know all the details, um, but the name of the group, you got the link in the comments.
Yeah, and I'm having a tough time pulling up the link, but give me just a second and I'll have it up. And I just want to say this too that I've started to notice a trend in some of the comments and some of the responses that it's well, how shall I put this? We're starting to see more positive response, at least in the Facebook comments in the group, towards teaching your kids when the child is able to defend themselves. For instance, one story that I think was posted today or yesterday or last couple of days, anyway, was about a kid who apparently was in eighth or ninth grade or is a sophomore or whatever, and the seventh or eighth grader kept messing with him on the school bus. And according this kid was diabetic maybe or something. But anyway, he finally had enough of it and stood up to the younger kid today and decided to defend himself. Now, and the parent commented on it and all that. Anyway, the point is that something's got to be done because it's getting to be too frequent on the Facebook page and too many different people. So anyway, let me see if I can find. Let's see, stand together.
Now, now I'm going to point out that I'm going to tell you that something that I read a lot, Rex, and hearing that a lot of it is a lot of these. Okay, and I don't care if somebody gets mad at me using these terms, then you're just going to have to get mad. And if you don't like it, call me up. We'll go out behind the woodshed, the e building, or the company man shack,
Or
whatever we needed to do.
like we
If
used
you're
to
in the oil
say, going
field,
out to the gravel.
yeah, I mean, if you're in the oil field, you know what I'm talking about. If y'all take offense to this, then come on, let's go out behind the company man shack and we'll settle this. But some of these yuppie kids, and you bringing up the point about Benton, why is it that it's in Benton? Well, I'm going to tell you what it's some of these yuppie kids that are entitled and think their crap don't stink. I mean,
Well,
and
that's true, but
they're
look, this is
they're
very similar to the milk carton kid syndrome. Do you know what that is?
I
It's
don't
a
know.
real
Come on
thing.
with it.
All right, it's a real thing. Back in the 70s, I think it was 60s or 70s when it first started. They being whoever they is, the government or whoever, had the brilliant idea to put missing children on the milk cartons. Do you remember seeing those as a kid?
Yeah.
Okay. And because of the milk carton kid syndrome, parents had a perception that all these kids were being kidnapped, even though the numbers show that it's relatively constant. It's like there was no increase or decrease. But because we saw it all the time, we decided that all these kids were being kidnapped, which led to helicopter parenting, literally. All right, the milk cartons are the cause of all this. Now, because of social media, and it is so easy to share information, and we have instant information at our fingertips, we perceive that the bullying is worse than it is. Now, I am not discounting that it does not go on, but I'm just saying that this, a lot of this went on when we were kids, and when you and I were growing up, we're about the same age, but we didn't have social media to share it. It went on and it happened, but we didn't have social media to share it. So I want everybody to keep that in context, that it's not like there's a massive tenfold increase in bullying going on at schools, um, but we do have a problem, and we do have the ability to share it on social media.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. There is a problem. Educators, I mean, educators, I'm going to contend they don't. I, I think they have their hands tied. I
Yes.
really do. And the approach up to this point, obviously, it's not working. So there is this group that has been formed, Stand Together. And, a lot of folks are coming together. And I mean, I don't even know the numbers, but I understand it is a significant number of people that have come together and they're going to take action to try to do something different. I don't know what, I don't know the details. I think it's in the infancy of its organization, but just overnight it has exploded from what I understand. And I would encourage everybody. I mean, if you want to see some change and you want to see bullying addressed in a different way other than what it has been at this point, then I'd encourage you to go to the Stand Together. I think they got a Facebook page. Go to it, follow it, and I think there's over 600 people are involved in it at this time. Get involved.
Yeah.
I don't know all the details about them. Maybe we can get some of them to come on the show and
Yeah.
talk about what they're about.
And look, it's not just in Benton. We use that as part of the show topics. It's not just about what goes on in Benton. It obviously goes on in other places too, but that seems to be where we're aware of it more than now. Okay, so enough about Benton Bullies. Let's get to this tennis mob. Speaking of bullies,
Bobby Ballou has sent me well, anyway. I, I, gu- I guess he likes Jeff Gordon too. I mean, he sends me a picture of him with Jeff Gordon. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hey, you know what? Dale Sr. told Junior, and Junior didn't listen. Dale Sr. said, "Hey, follow him around the track. He'll get you to the winner's circle." And he didn't do it. So,
You guys and your never-ending left-hand turns.
yeah, that's right.
I've
That's
never
right.
understood it. Watch them go round and round and round. But
Well, if you've ever drove a car, you would understand. You've got to
hey,
get in one, and then you would
look,
understand.
if we can have tennis, why can't we have stock car racing?
But tennis, that's the sport of conservatives.
Sport of conservatives. It's news to me.
Yeah, because tennis, you spend everybody else's money, to benefit
Oh, yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about that for a second. So we've said this before, and I'll say it again. The issue is not really about tennis per se. It's just tennis is in the spotlight because, well, the tennis guy's contract's up for renewal. This is much bigger than tennis. But as we saw today, those tennis folks, they show up in force.
Oh, heck yeah. When it comes to, making their guy have to mow the grass, like in Shreveport, like in Quirby's, which they said our contract is like Quirby's,
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, making their guy have to share, you know, proceeds from the tennis court, like Quirby's, like in their contract, like they said our contract was like Quirby's, which it's not. I mean, it's an amazing thing. But but hey, before we get off on the tennis Nazis, I mean, I don't know that everybody wants to talk about all the tennis Nazis. They not everybody plays tennis. There's 200 people on here watching, and I don't think 200 people play tennis. But what I do want to
Oh,
talk about
you might be
is a
wrong
couple of
about that,
things.
but go ahead.
Maybe so. Maybe so. If all you tennis Nazis, or if y'all are the, you know, 200 people that are here is the tennis Nazis, I mean, I'm sorry, there were not 200 of you at the council meeting. I mean, why were you not all there?
Yeah,
I'm just
that's
wondering.
true. That's true.
But so Rex, we start out. So the tennis Nazis are organized, and they sent out all their emails. It went out all over Shreveport and Northwest Louisiana to anybody that hits a tennis ball. They sent an email out and said you got to be at the Bossier City Council meeting. So
That's right. They're going to take our tennis away.
they're going to take our tennis. We got to show up. Oh my goodness, that evil Chris Smith.
Yeah.
He's uh, so they send out an agenda. Now, if you go to, I want to point something out, Rex, that a lot of people may or may not have caught. I caught it. I didn't capture the screen when I read it, but as soon as the email came out, I clicked on it, and there was something that popped up. So Bossier City agenda, cut for agenda, and I want to show you something. I want to show
Mm-hmm.
everybody something. This is the wag the dog in Bossier City.
All right. Which cut is it now? Let me make
Cut
sure I'm
four,
cut
cut
four.
four agenda, and then we'll go to cut five agenda.
All
And
right.
let me spill out here on the cut four of the
Let
agenda.
me get rid of that, and we're going to drop that in there. All right. Cut four agenda.
So September 15th at 2:05 p.m., Phyllis with the city of Bossier City. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, or we'll just say city of Bossier City. This is how they send out the agendas, and it's in a
Right.
PDF form and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So they send this out, and there is an agenda there.
Right.
Well,
But there was a problem.
can can you guess what was on the agenda? Now, remember earlier we were bashing Tahoe Tommy, the Joe Biden of Bossier, Tommy the Chandler, whatever y'all want to call him. We were bashing him earlier because he hadn't upheld, um, commitments. And remember, the Charter Commission was one of those.
Yes. Well, yes, I do.
Well, would you find it hard to believe that an ordinance to call a charter commission was on the agenda when it was sent out at 2:05 p.m.?
What? You mean? Oh, well, but that's a good thing, right?
Well, it is a good
I mean,
thing.
they finally got it on the agenda. But wait a minute, I don't remember when we went through the show through the city council live stream today. I don't recall them talking about charter commissions.
Well, you would be on top of your game
Hmm.
because if you go to cut five, so from 2:05 or 14:05 hours to 14:51, something happened.
Ooh, well, now let's see what Phyllis had to say. Phyllis says the agenda that was sent out previously is not ready to go live. If you are getting the temporary unavailable message when you try to open it, it's because it's not completed yet. We'll send out finished agenda as soon as possible. And look, we're not blaming Phyllis. You know, she's a city clerk.
So when it came back out, guess what wasn't on the new agenda?
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
was the ordinance calling for a charter commission.
Well, you don't. I am just shocked again. This is the most shocking show that we have done.
It is. So I'm going to speculate. Here's what happened. So what happened was King David, you know,
Well, wait a
however
minute.
many minutes.
You got to say it right. What had happened was,
Well, okay. What had happened was, I believe, is that about 45 minutes later, King David opened up his email and looked at the agenda and saw that there was a call for a charter commission. And he said, Phyllis, we can't have no charter commission call. You got to stop that. And so she shoots out an email and she cut it off at the leg. Like, hold up, Dano, point of order. I'm King
hmm.
David. I didn't approve that.
Well, but that would go against their, uh, well, their rules of whatever rules of the meeting, wouldn't it? And would go against the
Well,
Robert's Rules of Order.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, to get something on the agenda, it's got to be presented timely. It's got to be have the approval of the city attorney's office, and I think that's pretty much it. I don't know that any councilman can arbitrarily cut something off the agenda of that another councilman brings forward, but a call for a city charter. I mean, I Chandler committed that he was going to do it or call for it to be done. He's never done it. I mean, my understanding is that Chris Smith put this ordinance forward to call for a charter commission, because he made a campaign promise of term limits and all those, but then all of a sudden it gets nixed. So I don't know what's going on there, but I think that there's some shenanigans going on there, and I'm going to be interested if anybody knows what exactly happened there. Then by all means, let's hear it. But then after that was not on the agenda, but
Yeah.
tennis
Hmm.
was.
But tennis was. Okay, so tennis is obviously more important. I mean, aside from the fact that they approved street lights and other things and all that, everybody showed up for tennis. So let's dive off into this tennis.
Yeah. So I think that we've got some video that we're going to share with everybody since all the conservative Republicans, the limited government, anti tax and spend, Bozier. Well, wait a minute. You know what? How do we know that this was all conservative Republican? You know,
It could have been a bunch of liberal lefties.
oh, wait a minute. That's right. They sent emails out multi parish for all these folks to come out of the woodwork, right?
Yeah. How do we even know that all these folks that were at the meeting that attended it were actually Bossiers? Well, as a matter of fact, some of them admittedly weren't because they come over from Shreveport to play tennis at the Bossier tennis courts because, well, I think it was Hammonds said to be politically correct, they just didn't want to play at Querby's.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. Because the city of Bossier foots all of the expenses. So, yeah,
Including
okay.
security. Oh, I didn't say that. All right.
Well, what about that video? Let's play some of it.
Yeah, let's see. Where shall we start? Shall we start? Let's skip over the I mean, what's $6 million? Who cares about that? And let's skip over the one where they did not move the money from Bossier City PD over to the legal department. So let's just skip over that money moving deal. And we'll go straight to the tennis. How about that?
Tennis Nazis it is.
Tennis Nazis it is. All right, let's skip up here. So, to be fair and to be clear, we haven't thoroughly reviewed all of this. So we've got some data or some talking points in here highlighted, but we're going to kind of be reviewing it as we speak. All right, so here we go.
Wait a
Uh,
minute. Trisha
uh,
Lawrence says you guys are so off.
about what?
Well,
Got to
that
clarify, Trisha. About what?
she's probably meaning that Quirby's in their contract says everyone pays to play no matter where you go. We're not arguing that, Tricia, but in Shreveport, they document it. In Bossier, you don't document who pays to play. There's no documentation in Bossier.
That's right.
In Shreveport, there is. In Bossier, there's not.
As a matter of fact, what's killing Todd Killian or whatever, pretty much stated that in this particular meeting. All right, here we go.
Motion carries.
And this is the
Adopt an
point
ordinance authorizing
where you
Mayor
want
Thomas
to
H.
tag
Chandler
in
to
all of
execute the
your
attached
tennis
professional
friends.
service agreement with Gary Todd Killen with Killen's Court LLC. Final reading.
So moved.
Well, okay.
Chair, accept the motion of Mr. Williams, Mr. Montgomery, and the second, Mr. Williams, on this item. Any discussion or debate, council?
Mr. President, I first want to say that I think comments that I made at the last council meeting have been taken out of context. I don't think, and I would encourage everyone to listen to the last meeting. I don't think I ever made the comment that we should close the center down or not renew Mr. Killen's contract with the city. What I've brought up, and I think is germane to the conversation, is what we do about maintenance and improvements to the facility moving forward. I've looked at contracts, done some research on this, looked at this type of contract is very common throughout our region. However, the one thing that will change between municipality to municipality is how we handle improvements and maintenance to the facility. Some cities just take that burden. Others have put it all on the pro, and others have some type of cost sharing with the pro. And so it was mentioned at the last meeting, I believe by Mr. Bohannon, that the contract that we use was the one formerly used by the city of Shreveport. And I believe that Mr. Killen said that the closest comparison in our area to the North Bossier Tennis Center is Quirby's. So I took it upon myself to reach out to the city of Shreveport and get a copy of Quirby's, this contract. And to be fair, it is very, very identical. A little bit longer, but we cover a lot of the same topics. The biggest difference between the two contracts would be on page 2, section 2, subsection F. It is a requirement of the tennis pro there to do external fundraising activities and events for current or future tennis facility renovations. Subsection H says that the tennis pro must maintain program participation, data analytics, including lessons and attendance and tournaments and court fees, and submit that to the city by the 15th day for the previous month, and that they should make payments quarterly by the 15th of the following month of the close of that quarter to the capital fund. And if you go down at the very bottom of page 2, it'll say that the contractor shall pay 50 cents per court fee hour to be used for maintenance and improvements going forward on the facility. And it
And-
is my personal belief, this facility is, I'm just guessing off of memory here, roughly 12 to 15 years old.
And let me pause it for a second. So they talk about later, also that it's, and y'all tennis folks, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, that it's $3.50 per hour for the tennis courts. So 50 cents would be about a seventh of that, or whatever the math works out to. But they charge $3.50 an hour to use, or for use of the tennis courts. All right. With that said, here we go.
We're eventually going to have expenses like a new roof, an AC. The courts have to be resurfaced. And when some of these expenses come, they're going to be costly. And I think it would be advantageous for the city to prepare in
So,
advance for those.
Hold up.
All right.
Hold up for a second. If the air conditioner breaks right now, who pays for it? Tennis people. If the air conditioner breaks right now, who pays for it?
Yeah.
If the water bill isn't paid right now, who pays for it?
Yeah. I mean, if they have to resurface the courts or whatever it may
Oh,
be.
that's right. The taxpayers pay
Yeah.
for all of that. That's right. It's quality of life. I mean, okay, I got it.
But
Right.
and I kind of brought this point up, so I want to refresh everybody's memory too. I'm still looking for an answer, and I'd like to get an answer from our tennis folks out there. Todd said that they average about 200 competitors per tournament, about 7 tournaments per year. So that's about 1,400 competitors. What I'd like to know is how much does each competitor spend on an average per tournament? And because we should be able to do some simple math. All right, we should be able to take the amount of revenue spent per tournament, or even per week at the courts, regardless of a tournament. And we ought to be able to figure out how much revenue, tax revenue, that this generates. Pretty easy, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
All right,
Keep
here
rolling.
we go. Here we go.
Expenses. We would be setting future councils, future mayor, future tennis players up for success if they didn't have to worry if money would be appropriated for necessary improvements and maintenance onto the facility. Things happen in government all the time, and city councils and legislatures at every level have to make hard decisions when it's time to cut funding. And it would, I think, my personal opinion, if I was Mr. Killen, I would feel much more comfortable knowing that I had a reserve balance building up, and that the chance that my funding for improvements and maintenance to be cut isn't there, because I've been fundraising and setting money aside. And I think that would be a win for everybody. I mean, 50 cents off a $3.50 court rental, which I believe is the hourly rate. Am I right, Mr. Killen? I mean, that's 1/7 of what they bring in. And so just asking them to set 1/7 of their profit aside for future maintenance and improvements, it sets the tennis center up for success, the city up for success, and it's still going to be a red line item on our budget, but then you can have the argument of quality of life because we have prepared ourselves
So
moving forward.
All
you're
right.
inferring that
All right. Now, here goes King David's first dissertation or soliloquy or whatever you want to call it. He's getting on a soapbox. All right. So, but let's talk for a minute on what Chris just articulated. He was basically articulating that the tennis courts become somewhat self-sustaining. That's all he argued for.
Well, the tennis mafia or the tennis Nazis, they believe that the taxpayers should be on the hook. If air conditioners go out, they should just come and fix it. Period. It shouldn't cost them anything. Of no part of any of that money should go toward fixing any of that. But since we have a contract that is copied off of Corby's, who does have a, you know, minute amount of that money that does go towards, a kitty to be able to make these repairs if needed, or when something comes up. I mean, to say that they're not comparable. Shreveport has that kitty, Bossier does not.
All right.
Basically, in Bossier, I mean, I don't know Killen. He may be a great guy. And to the tennis Nazis, I mean, look, you're basically saying that government should foot the bill for everything for a guy to have a personal business.
Yeah.
And there should be
Again,
no accountability. There should be zero accountability for the tennis courts in Bossier. It should be an open checkbook for tennis in Bossier. That's what y'all
again,
are articulating. And
the
there's a lot of
the argument can be made for fishing, for cornhole, for pick your favorite sport.
It could be, and somebody put something about, a boat launch or whatever. Well, that's a one-time capital expenditure. Yeah, there's maintenance, at some point in the future, but it's not a reoccurring expense year after year after year after year. I mean,
And
look,
not every boat launch is free, even public-owned boat launches, such as go down to
that's
Louisville Bend.
that's exactly right,
You
and
got
you
to pay
can
to get through
see,
the gate, even though it's owned
and
by a public entity.
the expenses on all of that and the income on all of that, you can see all of that. But
Yeah.
but tennis in Bossier City, oh no, you can't see all of that. Ronald Reagan famously said and is quoted as saying, account and verify.
Yeah.
But what he didn't say was account and verify, comma, unless it's tennis in Bossier City.
Right.
And that's what we have.
Right. All right, here we go. King David is on tap.
We do not have financial success at this time, and we don't prepare in future budgets 5 years out what capital outlay is going to be. I'm at a loss to understand why all of a sudden you propose something that we hadn't done before, and we don't do it at other parks.
Well,
So
excuse me,
what I'm
to your
saying, though,
point,
is
Mr.
we have
Montgomery.
maintained our finances. We have balanced our budget.
Wait a minute. I got to stop him right there. How are they paying for some of this stuff to do with the Walter O. Bigby deal, or what is it? Oh, it's the tax bonds.
Oh, that's right. And what does that look like,
Oh.
David? Oh, okay.
Okay, but
Well,
ignore that little point that they're paying interest on.
let David keep going. Let David keep
Yeah,
going.
let him go.
Since '09, which you weren't around then, we had to make the necessary cuts. All the fire, the police.
Whoop. Wait a minute. I got to stop him again there. They cut fire and police back in '09, but they're keeping tennis today. Let that sink in for just a second.
Well, I'm just wondering, to the tennis Nazis and King David, should we cut firemen or should we cut policemen?
Or
So
should we
that,
cut the tennis guy? And look, he could
I
be
mean,
the
well, I'm-
football guy for all we care. It's not
Well,
just
I'm-
about tennis.
yeah, I mean, what city service or what should be cut so that the grass and the maintenance can all be maintained, and that no portion of the proceeds that go to the tennis facility have to be taken away and put into a kitty to pay for that? I mean, what should be cut? I mean, King David just said it right there.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us, King David. All right, here we go.
All the municipal employees, everyone had to make a sacrifice. From that time forward, we ensure that we have the capital needs. We have the money for those capital needs.
Through the LCDA bonds. But anyway, that's all.
No, wait a minute. You know what? He said 2009. That's an interesting thing because I was there
Oh,
and I don't remember getting that cut. I don't remember that.
well,
That's
surely
it.
he must have his years off. But you know,
Now I remember. Oh, wait a minute. I remember he was talking about there had to be cuts, and they came to the firemen and policemen and said, "Oh, because of our." No, he didn't say that. Because of our mismanagement, but oh, you got the choice to take a cut in pay or cut in manpower. Well, they had kind of like screwed all the city employees in the past, and the city employees said, no, we're not taking a cut in pay. That's what you do all the time. You can cut people because when we can't provide the service. And I can tell you, I remember being on a fire in South Bossier off of Barksdale Boulevard, and my captain, we get to the scene of a fire, and the fire is blowing out the roof, and because I mean, like there's rules for how you fight fire, and you have a minimum number of people that you have to have for you to be able to affect firefighting activities. And I remember my captain said on the radio, and he said, because all the radio transmissions are recorded, and he says, engine 2 to headquarters, we're on scene. We have a working house fire. If you can send us a back end man, we can fight the fire. Because here's the thing, you've got to have a guy on the fire truck operating the controls to pump water. Then you have to have, one man on the nozzle and one man with him in case he gets hurt to be able to pull him out. Two men. And we didn't have that. All we had was the driver and the captain.
Oops.
So he says on the radio then. So that was because of mismanagement on behalf of the city at that point. It had nothing to do with it. Well, here we are again. We're maxing out all of our money in the city, but by gosh, it's anyway. We got to have tennis, and no, we can't take a penny out of the tennis money to pay for maintenance. The taxpayers have to pay for it. I don't think this was an egregious ask. And oh, by the way, we can't even have accountability, Rex, at the tennis center. Chris Smith is simply articulating we're supposed to be Republican conservatives in Bossier. We ain't nothing but a bunch of hypocrites.
Yeah,
we're all a bunch of hypocrites.
Exactly. That's
and a lot
the
of the
whole point of this.
If you were there and you identify as being a conservative and you bristled at Chris Smith, I'm going to tell you, the only conservative that was in that building today was Chris Smith. I don't know where Hambone ended up on this because I ain't seen this video. But the only conservative that I've seen in this whole ordeal right here is Chris Smith right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm getting off my high horse.
All right. Let's continue on down the road of King David, down memory lane.
And I don't disagree with that.
Well, what you're proposing is says that we have something in the future that we're going to have a need for, which it does not make sense what you're proposing. You're wanting to take this man's profit and say that we don't have the funding available in the future, or may not have the funding.
Well, Mr. Montgomery, I don't have a crystal ball. Maybe you do, but
well, I sure go on my record, not empty promises.
Of cutting firemen and policemen, he's going on that record. Remember that, folks. He said it himself. All right, here we go. I think this is about the time that Darby kind of smacks him a little bit.
Go ahead.
All right, here we go.
I was going to say something.
Back at me and what this council has done. I sure do. You're right.
Let it be noted that the chair recognized Mr. Smith. Ms. Montgomery, we will get your comments next.
In other words,
just
shut up,
just
David.
to follow up, I'm not saying that Bossier City currently is irresponsible with money, but we will not all seven be sitting in these chairs forever. Eventually, people are going to come after us, and they're going to make decisions that affect the future of Bossier City. I am saying let's think forward and not just worry about today, but what could happen in the future and prepare ourselves. I don't think it's radical. I think it's being fiscally conservative and saying that, hey, there's going to come a time where a very expensive repair may come, and we already have the money to do it, and we don't have to go into the general fund to get that money. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Mr. Montgomery?
Yes. Well, number one, we don't use the general fund except for operating. We do not use general fund money, fund balance for capital expenditures. It seems like what we need to do is have a lesson for certain individuals about how the budget works here in Bossier City and how we allocate
Point of order,
funds.
Mr.
Do I have
President?
the floor, Mr. President?
Order, please. Mr. Montgomery has the floor.
So we have set forth a financial plan. which
You
has
wanna
been
stop?
Wait a
very
minute.
All
successful.
right.
Wait a minute.
Put the brakes
Wait a
on King
minute.
David for a second.
Wait a minute. Chris Smith just called for a point of order. When David Montgomery calls for a point of order, my
Right.
gosh,
What's
the
good for the
world,
goose ain't good for the
the,
gander.
the world comes to a stop. Chris Smith just called for a point of order. The chair should have recognized his point of order and addressed it. That's Robert. That's simple Robert's rules. I'm not
Yeah.
saying. I mean, I think Darby just kind of missed it. I don't think he intentionally, but that stops it
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. But it's King David.
But
So, all right.
but
Now,
King David, okay, King David is talking about how well they've managed the finances and money of Bossier City. King David, can you explain why? Oh, wait a minute. King David was absent when they had the meeting to vote to change Walter O'Bigby carriageway roundabouts at Hamilton Road and Shed Road to stop signs. He wasn't present at that meeting, but can you explain, since you're an accountant and since everything is so accountable, can you explain why those were voted on and changed, but then all of a sudden they end up in the contract for the Walter O'Bigby carriageway? Can you also explain why, when the original plans for the Parkway was to end in Shed Road, how did that change? Why did it change? When, why is it now ending, creating another intersection up on Benton Road and creating more of a quagmire? And oh, by the way, can you also explain why, the project was budgeted for a certain amount of money, since you being the y'all have done such a fine job in Bossier City. And if any of the councilmen are watching, besides the ones that haven't been on the council before, if you've done such a wonderful job, how is it that this low $30 million project has now exploded over $50+ million and counting, and you don't even have sound barriers or any of that yet? How come in your accounting, how come you've not accounted for that? Where is it to the increased cost or the shortcomings in all of this? No, you didn't. You never stood up. In fact, it's because of you that we've had all these problems and we're losing all this money, or that we're having, well, you know what? We're too far into it now. We can't just stop. We got to spend another million here, another million there. That's on you, King David. That's on you. Where's your accountability? Stand up there like a man and own it. Acknowledge that you're the reason, because you're the one that pushed city government in Bossier to run out there with this. We can't wait. What did he say, Rex, in that council meeting? We can't delay. What will it cost us? 6 digits. 6 digits. That's what you said. Or that's what Manchak or Ruttenbuck said. Makes me want to vomit.
Preach it, brother. Here we go.
Is there an honest bone in his body?
That's debatable.
For the last 13 years. And we separate our funding for operational expenses, which is the general fund. Nothing comes out of the general fund that goes to capital expenditures, so that everyone understands that. We, as a council, and Mr. Williams and Mr. Darby, and we have had a budget committee annually. We look at what our capital needs are in the future. We have certain funding set aside for all of these capital needs, whether it's roadways, whether it's parks and recreation. We were just talking to Coach and Louis a little bit ago about the needs of a parking lot at Tinsley. We have the funding available because we do prepare for the future. Whether you want to call it a crystal ball or not, I call it just common sense.
No, it's not common sense. It's not a crystal ball. It's called a freaking credit card. That's what it's freaking called.
A credit card for other people's money.
Everybody watching this show, do you all have a credit card that doesn't have a max? Do you not? Because this jackwagon right here, he doesn't realize that there's a max. In fact, there's no max for him. It's spend every dime that he can in Bossier City. It's spend it all. There's no end to it.
Don't question it. Just spend it. Here we go.
We don't shop.
Yeah, we don't shop. And just so everybody knows, from this point forward, we're just seeing this video as well. So these are our instant reactions to this video.
And after all the dust is settled and gone, and David Montgomery is not on the council anymore, when the bill for all of you in Bossier City, when the bill comes due for all of your kids, and we are laughed at by Shreveport because we're Bossier, when that bill comes due, all of you need to remember the name David Montgomery, because he's the guy that said, "Oh, we're doing it all right. Oh, there's no there, we've spent all this money and
Well,
I got
and look,
I got to stop."
I want to bring up a point. Excuse me. Our good friend Jeffrey Sadow says Montgomery et al. Have run up about $500 million in debt, or about $8,500 per capita, far above any other significant municipality in the state. That's what his big government
Now,
ideology has brought us.
yeah, now Jeff, great point, Jeff. And I have read your articles and what you say, and I got to tell you, it makes sense what you say. But you know what they say? They say that what you say is not true, that
Yeah,
that's not accurate, that they don't have that debt, that's inaccurate. But
except for the whole bond commission thing, but we'll just ignore that.
yeah, but you know what? The thing is, it's going to be everyone in Bossier. It's all of your debt. The taxes. I can tell you right now, there is amongst all these guys sitting up on this stage. There's a debate right now about what they're going to do, because they see the future coming like a freight train, and they're going to have to raise taxes, cut services. Firemen and policemen, y'all need to get ready, because your boy sitting right there on the end, King David, he knows it already right now. He knows that you're either fixing to have to take pay cuts, or personnel are fixing to have to be cut, because the money in Bossier's running out. The credit's running out. You're almost maxed out. It's coming. They're already
Coming.
talking about it.
But don't forget what he just said a few minutes ago. That they have, since 2009, that they have run a positive budget, blah, 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 blah. All right,
And
here we go.
go ahead.
That's what I went to school for, was to be a certified public accountant. I practice public accounting. I understand governmental accounting. And I'm comfortable with where I stand and where where the future of this city stands financially.
All right, and that answers your question, Barry Butler.
Yeah, because he
Yeah,
won't be held
we didn't say
accountable.
he was a CPA. He literally said he was a CPA.
Yeah, where does he stand? I mean, I'm wondering where he stands on the Link Coleman stuff. I mean, where I'm since he's a CPA and all, I'm just wondering, what is
Yeah,
he?
let's see. Wasn't King David around during all that debacle?
Yeah, I think the scuttlebutt is that he made a point to try to nix it because he wanted insurance on that deal or something or another. Wasn't that what
Yeah,
one of the sources told us, or
yeah.
something?
Imagine that.
If
All right,
I remember that.
here we go.
Thank you, Ms. Montgomery. Mr. Smith, did you have other comments?
Mr. President, I think that we can get our point across without being disrespectful to our colleagues and screaming. So I would ask for decorum with my fellow council members. I give respect to everybody, and I do think that respect should be given back.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir.
That will be noted in the future, and I think we all would like to show respect to one another, and well noted by you.
Yeah, I think
Yes, sir.
that it goes both ways about respect. And people that have been here and sacrificed with blood, sweat, and tears over
Oh,
the past
wait a
13
minute.
years.
Oh, good
Wait a minute.
God.
Pull at the heartstrings.
Yeah, you're
This is getting over
freaking
the
right,
top.
King David. Blood, sweat, and tears. When you had a fire chief that was running over people who literally, not figuratively, literally gave blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, where was you? Where was you, Councilman Montgomery, standing up to the Sammy Halfin BS when he was butchering all the firemen over at the fire department? Where were you? You were nowhere to be found. In fact, you were silent, absent. Where were you? You were nowhere to be found. Don't give me that crap of blood, sweat, and tears.
Now, Shane Thomas Gilliam says that's called deflecting 101, otherwise known as a red herring. A flopping red fish. Pay attention to the fish over here. Don't pay attention to what's really going on. All right. Yeah, he said he
okay.
was a CPA.
Yeah.
To be clear.
Look, he has been, okay, I'm going to throw Tommy Chandler a bone here.
Whoa.
This guy has been undermining Tommy Chandler before he was even sworn in. And Tommy Chandler, unfortunately, is so dense, he threw in with him. He pushed out that notice to proceed, had Manshak, he got Manshak to push Tommy Chandler to push out that notice to proceed when they didn't even have all the property secured to move forward with the project. And Tommy Chandler was too dense to understand it himself. Charles Jacobs and Richard Ray should have never let Tommy Chandler move forward with that. And the result is we went from a $30 million project to an over $50 million project and counting. And who has benefited? It's all people who are friends with David Montgomery.
Yeah.
Call me a liar. Tell me
No.
that ain't true. He's buddies with all those people. All of them.
Yeah, he is. All right, let's see where it goes from here, because we're just winging this along as we go. So let's see where it goes from here.
I certainly do agree with that respect.
No, you don't.
Any other
No,
council
you
member
don't.
like to speak
You
on this
could
item?
give a squirt of piss about anybody else up there. It's all about
I
you.
went out to the facility, it's really nice, and I like what he does out there, and he really does a great job. I don't think Boja could replace him right now, what he does, his knowledge and stuff. I thank you for what you're doing out there.
I want to stop.
Anything I can do to
Stop,
All right.
Rex. Stop.
Yeah, because listen to Matt,
Okay.
he was born.
To the tennis mafia, and how many tennis people got up there and spoke to the over budget Walter Bigby carriageway? How many of them got up there and spoke on the issue of millions of dollars? If they're all from Bossier, and they're all good stewards, of and public accountability and government and all that, how many of them got up there and spoke on the $6 million debacle that's called the extension right there from Brigham to right there in front of Councilman David Montgomery? Obviously, he's your cheerleader right there. He's the cheerleader of the tennis mafia.
Funny you should ask that question, because Mr. Darby himself gives us the answer to the question you just asked. Let's watch and see. So I've jumped forward in time just a little bit here.
Okay.
So, if you guys would like to stay for the rest of the agenda, that's fine.
No, we're just
Brief
interested in
intermission
tennis.
As you exit.
See ya. Now you tell me that those people right there are interested in what goes on in the city. They're all leaving.
I mean, that is an insult. They only care about, all the tennis mafia only cares about that the taxpayers that don't play tennis in the city of Bossier continue to foot the bill for the tennis club in Bossier City, and that their guy, whatever his name is, continues to get his, unaccounted paycheck, no oversight, no nothing. I want to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in on that picture, and I'm going to try to identify people in the audience, because I will bet you that I can go to their Facebook page or their social media, and I'll bet you that a lot of the people in that audience, I'll bet you they've got posts blowing up Joe Biden and the federal government for their wasteful spending and this and that and all this crap. And then they're all sitting right there and promoting the same thing that they rail against on their own pages. I'll bet you money I can go and see that.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say, well, let me put this comment up here. Greg Bell basically is defining narcissistic personality disorder. Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. And look, I just want to say, let's see. Let me skip ahead to this question. Now, this was Brian Hammonds. He had one last question or one more question for Killian. I don't think we probably need to go through the whole meeting and listen to everybody in support of tennis, but let's listen to this question.
President,
Yes, sir.
but before we make a vote, could I ask Mr. Killen just one more question? How many I'm sorry, I don't know. How many courts do you have up there?
I have 18 courts.
How many does Corby's have?
10, 11?
10 or 11?
11,
Okay.
yes.
I mean, a lot of the phone calls that I got were people that travel from Shreveport over here because they don't, I'll just leave it, they don't want to play at Corby's. I'll politically put it like that. On an average night up there, are all of your courts full and you have people waiting to play?
So one of the reasons when I first started, I was keeping track with how many people were coming in because the question always came up. Thanks to Mr. Epler, he was asking, well, we need more courts, we need more courts. So I would keep track based on how many people came of how many days, what percentage of days we had in a month that all the courts were full. And it was about 30 to 40% of the time where all of our courts were used. So it's not uncommon. Todd, Mr. Epler's even said, you know, like I can't get a court. So if they want a court and we have all 18 of our courts full, which is not uncommon in the spring and during busy times, that they have to go somewhere else, including Shreveport, because it's usually the closest place to go. So I would say 30, 40% of the time, our courts are full.
And we'll finish listening to this here in just a second. But again, we should be able. Why has nobody run the numbers on this?
That's what I don't get. And to
look,
the tennis.
Well, to be fair, we may run the numbers on this, and maybe this is a net positive for the city. Maybe it is. But why is nobody discussing the actual numbers and how much revenue this generates? And how much tax revenue it generates for the city?
Rex, everybody wants to know. I mean, look, Rex, I'm going to ask you. I'm not going to ask the 200 people watching. I'm just wondering, can we all agree that we're all wondering why is our society falling apart? First off, do y'all all agree? Do you agree that everything is coming apart? Rex, do you agree? Do you think that our governance, that our society, that everything is coming apart? Do you somewhat agree with that or a little bit?
Well, look, I'm usually a glass half full guy. I don't usually take the pessimistic view, but I gotta say, after listening much closer to the Bossier City Council in the last couple of years that we've been doing the show, 120 some odd episodes, it's teeter-tottering for me on the glass is half empty. It really is.
Well, what I'm saying is I think, I mean, from the federal government to local government, I believe that everything is coming apart. I mean, there's no, and I say that because I don't think we have accountability. So we just showed in one council meeting, and this is just Bossier City. Think about it. This is happening all across the country. It's happening, in flyover country, Kansas, Indiana, it's happening in California, it's happening on the East Coast, but right here in Bossier City, this is exactly what our problem is as a society. We just had $1 million issue and nobody from the public, nobody stuck their head up. Nobody. But when it comes down to some individuals and their particular little thing of interest, which is tennis, they're about to lose their mind that there's even the consideration of even talking about, and here's the thing, talking about simple accountability.
Yeah.
How many people are using? Are we putting away maybe a little money to be able to cover the expense, the cost? Should we talk about the cost? And one person on the council loses his mind because another person is talking about the future and that maybe we should put a little money back to be able to cover this cost and it not be on the back of the taxpayer. I mean, is that not what is wrong with our society today? Is that we're not looking to the future? We're not looking at, you know, only thing people care about is what specifically affects them at that time and moment. And if that happens to be tennis, then oh my goodness, they're going to lose their mind.
They're
I,
going to
I
lose
would
their minds.
I would have been glad if some of those tennis folks would have spoke up and made a comment or said something in regards to, you know, Walter O'Bigby carriageway and it being over millions of dollars. You know what? If one of you would have done that, I might would have said, you know what? Let's give them one of those millions of dollars of overages there out of the Walter O'Bigby carriageway for your tennis facility. But
Well, and to
no,
be fair, we're not going to go through all the individual comments. One, we don't have time. Two, we haven't reviewed them all. So to be fair, you know, I'm going to assume that the vast majority of people speaking there were part of the tennis mafia and were speaking positively about Killen and the tennis courts. We just don't have time to go through it.
David Johnson says, do the math. It does not make money. David Johnson, the tennis mafia will argue with you. They're saying that, oh, they're making a killing down there. They're making a fortune down there.
Somebody's making a killing.
Yeah. How many people, if the city of Bossier will provide you a business and cover all the costs, how many of y'all will take that business? You've got no expense. The city's going to cover all of it.
Yeah.
Who all wants that?
Yep.
Who all
All
wants
right.
that contract?
Let's listen to another minute or two of this and see what else happens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Killen, just like to say thank you for your hard work and your professionalism. Thank you for serving the citizen of Bossier and those around.
And look, I'd like to say this too. I don't know the guy from Adam. And I'm not saying that he is not doing a good job. And I'm not saying that he does not deserve the money that he is getting paid. And I don't blame him for taking advantage of the situation with the city. All right, here we go.
Around Bossier. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, City Council.
We have a motion and a second. Council, please cast your vote.
I'm wondering, all those folks clapping, how much money does Todd Killen make per year? Do they know?
I don't think they do. I don't know.
I mean, I'm just wondering,
Motion carries.
do they have any idea? What were they clapping for?
If you guys would like to stay for the rest of the agenda, that's fine.
So
If not, we'll take
go
a
back,
brief intermission
Rex.
as you exit.
Let's go
All right.
back. There was a guy in a blue shirt and a white hat that I saw when I watched this video earlier. I don't know if we can find that real quick.
Blue shirt and a white hat. Okay.
White hair. He had white,
White
hair.
hair.
Gray.
Blue shirt.
It was a gray haired guy.
I think it's right at that guy.
Yeah, I think that was him.
All right, let's see.
Reside at 204 Ridgefield Drive in Lakewood subdivision. Currently employed by the United States Tennis Association. I've worked for this organization for over 28 years. I have a little bit of experience with the industry. Since we've talked a little bit about revenue, I just want to make sure that everybody on the council understands that the amount of revenue that is generated at that tennis center is directly related, a direct correlation between the effort and the expertise of Todd Killen and the team that he has assembled to work at that facility. There's no doubt about that whatsoever, okay? And I would think that any facility or venue that a city owns, you would certainly want to have as many citizens as possible taking advantage of that facility and having the opportunity to use such a beautiful facility. They keep talking about it. Mr. Maggio mentioned going out there, how impressed he was. I can tell you, it's the nicest one. It's the nicest public facility in the state of Louisiana. And that was one of the goals that Mr. Bohannon wanted to see come to fruition when he was involved in hiring a tennis professional and putting the building in place and the entire facility in place. And we've talked a little bit about tournaments, and Mr. Watkins made a great point about the Katie Bill tournament and the success of that, and the new homeowners that we've generated, and the houses that have been built in the Scott Dickerson neighborhood. I believe that, if I'm correct, the first house that we built a number of years ago, that was the first new construction in that neighborhood in 40 to 50 years.
All right, let's stop from right there. So now they're taking credit for building houses.
Yeah, they are growing Bossier City apparently by tennis there. With 80 memberships, they are growing Bossier City, and the tennis mafia is going to be all mad at me because I use the term they have 80 memberships.
Yeah, not our numbers. That's Todd's numbers. All right, let's see. Let's go back and let's catch this guy. Let me see if I can back him up. All right, here we go.
Some pass outs here that I will leave for the city council, just relative to the.
Gotta give 'em
growth of
credit.
tennis. Sometimes I don't
If you
think
would
They
everybody
came well
understands.
prepared.
Excuse me?
Give your full name and your address.
Yes, I'll hit that. My name's Jay Boyd. I'm a longtime resident of Bossier City. I am a past president of the Northwest Louisiana CTA, which is the local arm of the United States Tennis Association for North Louisiana. I'm the current president and chair of the Louisiana Tennis Association. I chair the group of presidents for USTA Southern, which represents 27% of the country. I serve on a number of committees at Southern, and I'm also on the National Awards Committee. So I've got experience with tennis from locally here through the national numbers. I had a lot of information I was going to go through. I'm going to kind of cut this down based upon what we've gone through here. We talked about the original RFP. Actually, I brought the original RFP back before Alana Engelman was hired as the original pro from Shreveport to Bossier. So I'm sure those are still pretty similar. And to be honest with you, that's a model that we have used across the entire state with RFPs. Now, they differ, and we have a different one in Youngsville. We got a different one in Lafayette. New Orleans is looking at one right now, et cetera, et cetera. And it varies based upon what the local individual needs are in each market. And I actually helped write the one for Shreveport. Our USTA personnel have worked on and really helped develop that RFP. And what's important here, I think, is a couple of things. I want to make sure everybody recognizes how important tennis is or whatever else. I mean, the one activity, I was at a meeting with Dr. Brian Hayline. I don't know if you know who he is. He's the chief medical officer of the NCAAs. And Atlanta about 6-7 years ago, and he was talking about health, and he said, what one activity will add more years to your life than anything else? Activity, not sport. The answer? Anybody want to guess? Tennis, all right. How many years do you think? 9.7 years. I'm talking about a recreational player, not somebody that's out there playing every day, but playing several times a week, et cetera. It's a sport you can play from the time you're 3 to 103. And I can go through a lot of numbers here, but the importance of tennis or whatever is much greater than you think. It's a product that how many sports have a pathway for adults to get into that have never played? Not too many. I mean, if you wanted to go out and start learning to play basketball at 40 years old, there's not a lot of places that are going to teach you from the ground up. Tennis has a program called Tennis Apprentice. Matter of fact, I'd be willing to bet there's probably a number of people in this audience that learn to play tennis with that as adults. And it's this type of programming that really is valuable. When we go back to the RFP, like I say, the needs in each market differ. And those RFPs are structured to each of those markets. And there are different ones across the state, but it is by far the best way to handle a tennis center. The old days of having a city employee go in, open the door, maybe they're an instructor, maybe they have some training, and sit there and then close at the end of the day without going through programming and everything else are long gone. And that's why the RFP is what is recommended and required in many of the markets out there.
Sir, we've gone beyond your 3 minutes.
Yes, sir.
If you want to just wrap it up quickly, please.
I'm sorry?
Could you just wrap it up quickly?
Yeah, I can leave it at that. I have a tendency to be verbose all the
Yes,
time.
sir.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
may I ask the gentleman something based on his experience? I'll keep it brief. So you say that your organization handles a lot of these different contracts, and what works for some might not work for all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Does your organization have a mechanism, or is there a particular person that could look at a city's contract and see if it is fitting the need of that city, if it could be better, or make any changes to it? Does that exist within your organization?
One of the things, we're a nonprofit organization. One of the things, our mission is to promote and develop the growth of tennis everywhere. And so we try to do that in every method we can, from offering advice on how to situate your lights on courts to how to do the RFPs. And we certainly, matter of fact, specifically relative to the RFPs, there's a gentleman who's our now executive director who has a tremendous amount of experience in that. Yes, sir.
What does that cost a municipality to have their current agreement?
We do those things free of charge. We're a nonprofit. We offer that absolutely free of charge. Yes, sir.
So if we were to ask USTA to, hey, look at our agreement and see if there's anything that
you
we
hear
may
that?
be missing.
Yeah.
That was something that your
Hold on.
organization would do for free for us?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
That's good to know. Especially, Mr. President, as
So-
we talk about the maintenance of the building, that might be something as a city we want to look into.
Thank you.
All right, enough of that.
Enough. We don't shop.
We don't shop. No shopping around.
We don't shop. Even when it's free, we don't shop. So that guy can take his football and he can go home. That stuff he's
Yeah.
talking about giving the city something for free. No, we don't shop. It's a million or nothing, or we're out.
Well, all right. So, where do we wrap this up for tonight? I mean,
I don't.
let's give
I
our
don't-
official positions again. Are you anti-tennis, Duke?
I am not anti-tennis. I mean, I played, wiffle ball at Happy Jack's Turtle Ranch. I'm talking about for multiple summers on the tennis court, and I loved it. I loved it. I agree with them. It was physically invigorating. I loved it. But
Okay.
at the end of the day, I mean, who is above accountability? Obviously, anything to do with Manchac, anything to do with Walter Road Bigby Carriageway, and now anything to do with a tennis court in Bossier City. That now we know those are the lines of demarcation. We know.
Yeah. Well, I'm not anti-tennis either. I have nothing against tennis. I actually enjoy playing tennis, albeit I haven't, granted, played it in a long time. It is the principle to me of, are we going to, I forget who said it a few minutes ago, but are we going to continue subsidizing tennis, and where does it stop? If we can have tennis, why can't we have fishing? Why can't we have cornhole? Whatever, pick your sport. I mean, cornhole is like the fastest growing sport that there is. Why can't we have a city subsidized cornhole court, or whatever you call it? I mean, the point is, where does it stop?
I want to build a widget factory in Bossier, and if the city of Bossier will pay for all the expenses, I'll run it. I just want them to pay for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not asking a whole lot.
It's
right?
other people's money.
It's other, yeah. I mean, and Tommy Chandler, he's on board. You don't
Yeah.
even have to ask him. He's on board.
Yeah, King David, I mean, he said it himself. He's been a good steward of everybody else's money. I mean, so.
Yeah, since he's been in Bossier, on the council for the last couple of decades, I mean, therefore, it's got to be right. There can't be anything done wrong. Since he's been there, it's got to be right. You can't even question it, because if you question it, he's going to raise his voice and scream you down.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know. I guess this is as good a point as any to kind of wrap this up. First of all, I want to thank everybody, whether you're a tennis member of the tennis mafia or not. I'd like to thank everybody for watching the show and having good, productive, constructive comments.
Yeah, and you know what? I want to commend the tennis mafia for standing their ground. Good
Hey,
job.
yeah, they made a
Maybe
good showing at the city council meeting.
they did. I mean, maybe we can see some of those folks show up for one of the issues is not related to, their extracurricular activity. Maybe
Yeah,
they'll show up for something that's of benefit to the rest of the citizens of Bossier. I
yeah.
mean, good job, guys.
Hey, we can always hope and wishful thinking, I guess.
Wishful thinking. I think you hit the nail on the head right there.
All right, look, folks, and for those of you that are new to the show, again, we appreciate you watching. If you have some information that you want to share to us, but you don't necessarily want it to be public or identifiable, make yourself a free Proton Mail account. Don't use any identifying information, and send us an email to BossierWatch@protonmail.com. We do check those. We do read those. Sometimes we get some interesting ones. There's no doubt about it. There we go. Bring Squirrel. Bring BMX to Bossier. Already have a certified USA BMX track operator and coach living right here. There we go. Bring BMX. Anyway.
Hey, Creighton, love it. But when the city of Bossier doesn't want to have a national sponsor of baseball type activities, sponsor things at Tinsley Ball Field, I'm pretty confident that you're out on BMX. I mean, you need to talk to King David. That's who you need to talk to because he runs Bossier City. Chandler, whatever King David says, that's what's going to go. So you just need to talk to him. I mean, get
Yeah.
him, go take him a BMX, buy it off of Facebook or something. I mean, don't spend over $5 for it, but just take it to him and get him to ride with you one day.
And
That's how
look,
you do it.
I hate to suggest this, but maybe give him some insurance business. I don't know. Grease his wheels.
Get one of those little saddlebags and put like a fifth of whiskey in it or something. I mean,
Yeah.
look, you think I'm kidding? I'm telling you, that's
Hey,
how you do it. And cheap
Greg,
whiskey. Put
Greg,
cheap whiskey. Don't put anything that's of any value. Just put cheap whiskey.
Greg Bell's got a good idea. The Jimmy Davis Bridge Tennis Center and bungee jumping. We have not forgot about the bungee jumping. Anyway.
Oh, Greg, bungee jumping comes before tennis. You've got your priorities mixed up right there, brother. I'm gonna tell you.
All right. Anything else you would like to share with our viewing public, Mr. Lowry? Anything?
I'm just enjoying all the time we're all having together.
Yeah, it's a weekly thing. For those of you that are new that don't know, we have so far successfully done this over 124 times without missing a show.
Well, that's right. And hey, we almost forgot. So, for those of you that have endured through this torture for the last, I don't know how long the show is, but cockroach of the week,
Oh yes.
I'm going to propose a couple of names.
Okay.
And for everybody, I mean, it's amazing. We've been at it an hour and a half to 2 hours, and we still have 150 plus people watching. So I'm going to throw out a couple of names and we're going to take y'all's vote for the cockroach of the week for this week. Now, you want to explain that it can be both a enduring thing and it
Right.
can be a negative as
Yeah,
well.
it can go either way. For instance, some of our past recipients of the Cockroach of the Week have been none other than your favorite person, Duke, which would be.
There's so many. I'm not going to pick on nobody tonight, so I'm going to take
All right.
I'm going to duck it. I'm going to duck it.
All right, all right. But anyway, yeah, it can be a positive or it can be a negative. Where it originated from was we were called cockroaches and cohorts as members of the Republican PEC, Parish Executive Committee, once upon a time. And so we took that on and took that mantle and have decided that we occasionally come up with a cockroach of the week, and we have not done that in a while. So it can be a positive or it can definitely be a negative use. So let's hear some votes. I agree. That's a good way to do it. All right.
Okay,
We'll,
so I'm sorry, I was sending you something.
oh,
So
okay.
I think, you know, the maybe enduring cockroach of the week would be Chris Estes, because here's a guy, that went ahead and stepped to the plate to become the police chief, and you know had his legs cut out from under him by you know somebody he was loyal to.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for a affirmative cockroach of the week, shall we say, that is a definite possibility. I was very proud of Chris Smith, and Hammond's got a couple of comments in there that were pretty valid. So I would encourage everybody to go to the Bossier City's or Bossier City
Yeah.
Council's YouTube feed and watch that entire exchange, because we only covered
Now,
about 60% of it.
now I'm going to say a negative cockroach of the week would be Todd Killen, because Todd Killen was able to again get a contract with no accountability for the city of Bossier. None
Yeah,
whatsoever.
but see, I can't go for that because I'm a capitalist. I mean, I can't blame him.
Yeah,
I
that's
can't, I
right.
can't, I can't fault him for doing if the city's gonna just throw money at you. May as
Yeah,
well.
that's right. Well, okay, well then Tommy Chandler for not, being somebody
Ah,
responsible for all of the citizens of Bossier City. In fact, he's bragging about it. I mean,
oh yeah.
he's
Let's see.
bragging about it.
Yeah, give me just a second here. Hold on just a second. Let me see. We gotta, we gotta pull up this post. Buy me a little bit of time. About 30
He
seconds.
I mean, he's proud of the fact that, remember he ran a conservative, and he even showed a picture with him and Donald Trump. I mean, and which, okay, yeah, I know y'all could take a shot there. Donald Trump wasn't the most conservative either. But, I mean, Tommy Chandler said that he was going to audit the city of all goodness gracious. And yet he supports no accountability for tennis. I mean, I'm just saying. So,
Well, there we go. Let's see. Let's see if I can position this just right. Oh, that's close enough. Um, so there we go. I mean, maybe, maybe we do need to have Tommy as well as the cockroach of the week. Maybe it needs to be a combo deal. Tommy and Todd and Clay.
now, yeah. Now, Michael Ferris, did you see his comment, which I thought was
No.
pretty amazing? Michael
No.
Ferris says the mannequins on the city council who are silent and vote in lockstep with Montgomery are cockroaches.
Yes.
I like that.
That is a good safety point there. All right. Well, enough of cockroaches.
So we're going to pick one.
I'm going with these three guys. That's
You
my
know
vote.
what? I'm with you. That's my vote too. I
That's
think so
that's
too.
my vote. My vote for tonight, with acknowledging Michael Ferris's comment about the mannequins on the city council. That's a good term for them as well.
Absolutely. So give us
Uh,
the little yay thing.
all right. Let's see. Where is my applause? All right. It's been a while. My trigger finger was a little off.
A little off. Well,
But
for everybody watching, we appreciate y'all hanging in this long. I mean, we broke news that nobody else knows. I'm sure maybe the major media will be, digging in a little bit more and giving you a little bit more. But we broke, stuff that nobody else has heard tonight. And you were here, you heard it,
yep.
and we'll try to bring more to you next week. And like Rex always says, send us some Proton mail. We will sort through it, and we will try to do our best to vet it. We'll put it out there. We've got a lot of public information requests already out right now on some other things that we're running down. And, Appreciate you watching and look forward to seeing you next week, Rex.
Let's do it again next week. Same time, same place, Tuesdays, 7 o'clock. Give or take a minute or two. We're usually on time, and hey, we'll be here to do it again.
Good night.
Good night.